In a university with no media or journalism courses, it's often wondered how Durham has become such a hub for an active and engaging media scene. PalTV, Palatinate, Purple Radio, Indigo and The Bubble have all gained national recognition for the work that they've produced. So we've sat down with some of the students leading the charge to find out just what it is that makes Durham student media so successful. First, let's introduce our student media leaders. This is Charlie, station manager at Purple Radio. These are Will and Lily, both editors-in-chief at the newspaper Palatinate. These are Charlotte and Ayasha, editors at Indigo magazine. This is Emily, editor-in-chief at The Bubble magazine. This is Lucy, station manager at our broadcaster PalTV. How did you get into student media?
So my first interaction with student media was I went along to the Freshers' Fair, as everyone does here at Durham, and the first people I bumped into was the Purple Radio exec. I love talking and I love music. I love sports, I love drama, I love news, and I thought, what a great way of combining all of my interests into one kind of platform, and that is radio. And it's just been a way of expressing myself that I never really expected when I came to university. I never had an aspiration to go into student media or radio in particular, but from that moment at the Freshers' Fair, you know, I have just had such an amazing time.
So the first time I got into student media was by reviewing for theatre shows. So I reviewed some DST shows for Stage in Indigo, and then eventually applied to be a stage editor for Indigo. Yeah. You just have to start writing. You just have to get stuck into it and join a taster session, send in an article. And you never know, maybe you might like it and maybe you end up really enjoying it.
So during the second term of my first year, I was looking to sort of find an extracurricular outside of my course that I still knew I would enjoy, but had some sort of like academic benefit. I did sort of student journalism back at school and was really keen to get back involved with that, and saw Palatinate on Instagram and just, applied for one of the Indigo vacancies.
I joined the Bubble in second year. I was a bit late to joining media societies, and honestly I just found it at the Freshers' Fair when I was walking around the stands, and the people who were running it at the time seemed really friendly, really nice, and they advertised the fact that you get complete creative control over your work at the Bubble, which really appealed.
Well, I first got into student media by, as I think most people, going around the Freshers' Fair. Saw the Palatinate table, wanted to get involved with journalism, joined as a news reporter, moved to news editor, and then got elected editor-in-chief.
Then first year I was a bit too scared and intimidated, saw Palatinate more as just a name rather than like a society. But second year I decided that I had nothing to lose, so I started as features editor in Indigo and sort of worked my way up to editor-in-chief.
So I got involved purely by coincidence. I happened to meet the then station manager at Freshers' Fair in my first year. He was just so enthusiastic about the society. We were really new at the time, and he kind of suggested that you could come along, train on all of this kit, you know, learn to use proper cameras, and I was just really intrigued as to kind of the possibilities that were there. I'd never really considered doing video journalism or broadcast journalism. I'd only ever really thought about written journalism when people talked about going into the media. So it was something completely different, and I just thought I'd give it a try.
Why do you think Durham's active student media is so important?
Durham doesn't have a journalism degree, it doesn't teach media studies. So a lot of those people who want to get into the media instead have to channel all of their passion into doing student media instead.
I think the reason student media in general is so important is because it's such a great way of amplifying student voice. And here at Durham, I think we're especially good at that. It's such a great way of hearing what students have to say. And I think here at Durham, students have a lot to say. And that's a great thing. And we can facilitate that.
I think it's the main important thing about it is to give people voice giving them a platform to talk about the things that they are interested in, to talk about the things that they care about particularly, and particularly with Indigo, this is important for us because as an arts and lifestyle magazine, we also focus on general interests that people are interested in, that people can take any sort of like lessons from, and reflecting on those and giving space for that experience. And I think having space for that in Durham is really, really important.
I think it's really important for student media to be there to represent students. And I also think, kind of tying into that, one of our functions is to hold the university accountable. And I think we do a really good job of that at Durham.
I think that specifically at Durham University, we're a very high-performing academic university, and I think it's really important that people are able to express their creative interests. I think student media particularly is so valuable. We have such a unique voice that you might not be used to hearing. We're all sort of educated and intelligent and good at expressing our views, and having this sort of creative output and different forms of media I think is really important, and it gives people a break from their courses to be able to sort of do something more critical and creative that is fun but also still really valuable to how the university community functions.
The new exciting opportunities that you might not get to experience in your degree or previously in the academic environment that you grew up in makes it really exciting.
How does student media thrive at a university with no media courses?
I think the idea of everyone being an amateur, if anything, it's quite empowering for people to know that they don't have any quote-unquote qualifications, and yet they are still able to create something and contribute to their media scape in the university. The fact that people learn on the job in their media roles, and then being able to pass on that information and all the things that they've learned to the next person who takes over that role, and means that it's a continuously going cycle of knowledge, which I think becomes really, really important in our media community in Durham, despite not having that kind of like overseeing media course.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we don't have journalism or media courses is really interesting as a feature of student media, especially student TV, because it means that we don't have any direction or training from any staff at all. We're all kind of self-taught. We support ourselves financially through sponsorships and fundraising. And yeah, we all sort of support each other and train each other, which is really, really cool and really fun. So I guess I can speak mostly from a student TV perspective. We have an ability, because we are so student-led, to have kind of total control of our output and really focus on actually just getting out there and producing the content. I think we're very active. We kind of learn on the job. And also it just means that the way that we're set up, like we try and set ourselves up as similar to a professional TV station as possible, to kind of prepare our members for potentially working in this kind of field.
So I think Durham's got a long history of having strong student media. If you look back in sort of the archives a long time ago, we had lots of thriving college magazines as well as a really good student newspaper. And from that we've got a huge alumni network that we can pull on, and they can act as sort of mentors and teach us how to get involved in journalism in the sort of wider world as well.
It's things like this. I think it's really important that we sort of take our own initiative. Universities are obviously very valuable places where people come from different backgrounds, different levels of experience, they do different courses, so I think it's really important that we sort of get together and cobble together our expertise and interests, and I think make it known amongst ourselves and amongst the student community that it's a thing and you can get involved and we can teach you, and you can sort of learn the ropes along the way without having an official course, for example. But I do think it requires support from the university and support from sort of non-student communities to reassure us and let us know that yes, this is valuable and yes, keep going.
I think the fact that the university doesn't offer journalism courses almost encourages people to be a part of extracurricular activities. I think it means that at the university we have lots of driven and engaged people, and as a result they are more keen to put their energy into something outside of class, something that's not related to their studies but still a project that they can work on and have something to show for it, which I think is really exciting.
I think because there is no media courses, everyone is so good about it, and it's sort of weaned out this sort of pool of talent where the people who do go for it are genuinely very, very good, and that passion sort of comes across.
I think the answer to that is a huge amount of time, effort and dedication from amazing students. My exec this year are so dedicated, and I'm so thankful for all the work they've put in. But I think every year you find that students at Durham are really happy and willing to put a lot of time and effort into student media because it's something they're passionate about. And is why we win loads of awards, because we've got so many students who are so passionate about student media.
Which student media projects are you the most proud of?
I got to do Indigo's first glossy magazine, which was very fun for its 15th anniversary. And in the whole 15 years, there's never been a glossy print. So being able to sort of start that legacy was very exciting.
I think for me this will have to be the international editions that I founded for Indigo in 2023. So after receiving feedback from international students that they think it's slightly difficult for them to get into student media, to write for Indigo, they find it a little bit intimidating. We start doing print editions that are specifically dedicated on focusing on one particular region, and then we invite societies and students with background in those regions to write for us. So we start in Southeast Asia, but we've done Latin America, Africa, and East Asia as well. And I think that has been a really rewarding experience to widen our readership and our scope of contributors as well, and to see people share about their cultures on our magazine.
An article that I wrote in second year was about the Too Good To Go scheme, and I really enjoyed sort of interacting with things that were happening currently in the city and in the student community, and that felt relevant to me.
In terms of projects that I'm really proud of, the one that I kind of always talk about and the one that I think kind of kick-started my journey with student journalism was in my second year we had the housing crisis. I mean, it happens every year, but my second year was kind of the worst year, so that was 2022. And that was the year that it sort of made national news for the first time, and it was our coverage that ended up in the news. I spoke to people on the news, which was crazy. And not only is it an incredible experience for a student journalist to get that opportunity, but more importantly, it was raising this issue to the national stage so that people understood just how bad it was in Durham and took it seriously. And since then, I think there's been more of an awareness of the student housing crisis across the whole country. So I think we did a really, really good service to the student population being able to do that.
I think some of the work that sort of PalTV have done and Purple Radio have done as well has been brilliant. One of my favourite and one of the most impactful things, pieces of student journalism sort of nationally, was the housing documentary from a couple of years ago, and we've continually followed up on that in PalTV. We've had front pages on housing over the start of this term. We've also reported on it heavily over the past few years, and that sort of collaboration between student media societies really works.
Our live sessions at Purple Radio are amazing. That kind of encapsulates Purple Radio in such a great way. It's a place where student musicians and artists can go and have access to professional equipment broadcasted on air every week, and it's such a great opportunity to ask them why they do what they do and also hear some of their incredible music.
And I think, especially in our Indigo editor role, we've really seen how different creative niches from people come together, sort of every print, to make this magazine that's just, it's brilliant. Every time we print, I think I'm really proud of it, and I get to see all the behind the scenes work that goes into putting together the articles.
It's clear that the success of student media in Durham is driven by passion, commitment and community spirit, creating such an active scene where a diverse range of voices are respected and broadcasted. Thank you for watching PalTV.